Welcome to the WorkJoy Jam podcast. I'm your host, Beth Stallwood, founder of Create WorkJoy. In this podcast episode, I am joined by the wonderful Nick Howard-Lanes. Nick has had the really interesting career in film, in TV, working in costume departments, and he's now really transformed his world to be helping men with their mental health through the power of styling and through clothing. And I was so fascinated about this subject. I think it's a really important one, and one that often doesn't get brought to light is around how do we help men with their mental health. And in this world, Nick talks about creating that space and the conversations via the back door of thinking about your personal styling and the clothes you wear. It's a really interesting conversation. I hope you enjoy it. I'll pop back on at the end to tell you what my personal takeaways are. Hello and welcome to the WorkJoy Jam. I'm really excited today to be joined by Nick Howard-Lanes. And Nick and I got connected through a networking group, I think. And we had a chat and I thought, what an interesting career, a really interesting background. And for me, even more so, a fascinating story of what Nick is trying to do now. And I'm not going to give it all away because I want him to tell us more. So Nick, welcome to the WorkJoy Jam. I'm so excited to have you here. I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our lovely audience and maybe to give your story of how you got to where you are today, and then we can dig into all of the things about WorkJoy. So over to you.
Hey, Beth, thank you so much for having me on. You've got an amazing podcast, so it's an honour to be here. So yes, I am Nick Howard-Lanes, aka Man About Style, and I'm a personal stylist for the everyday guy, providing a proven positive change for guys not only lacking in a sense of style, but also battling with insecurities and mental health. So a little bit about me and my background is that let's start off with the struggle. So back in 2019, after graduation, I spent 2 years sitting on the old box computer, emailing so many production companies looking for internships or work experience, and just writing hundreds of cover letters back in the day when you would actually handwrite some things. And I did that for 2 years, and I would get a little bit of work experience, but the rejection was real, and I learned the hard way. That was my first point in my life where I understood what rejection was, and just no one wanted me. I felt like I was a nice guy, but no one would just have me for longer than a couple of weeks. So then I thought, how am I going to get into this film and TV world? So I actually signed up as an extra. So I was doing extra work for commercials and a few movies. And then I just got on really well with an assistant director. And then she said, hey, come on Pirates of the Caribbean with me. So before I knew it, I was being Johnny Depp's hand double. And then before I knew it, I was a wizard in Harry Potter. And that was my first big kick through the door of, right, I'm here. I'm in Blockbusterville. Let's make bad words happen. I was going to say a swear word, but I don't know if it's late night viewing. So that's it. So I was in. And then from there, people saw my potential and knew what I wanted to get into, and that was behind the camera. So I became a runner. So I was making teas for the likes of Nicholas Hoult on X-Men and people like that. And I jumped around from film to film, but I still hadn't found my true purpose and meaning yet. But what I was finding that was when I was looking after all these actors, I was looking at their costumes. And I thought, okay, maybe there's something in this. I was all very fashion conscious myself. So I thought, let's just try. So I spoke to a supervisor on World War Z, which is the zombie apocalypse Brad Pitt movie.
I love that movie.
Oh, it's such a good. I actually watched it last week. It was on
I'm
E4.
I'm not a big zombie movie lover, but I do love that movie.
Yeah, neither. Maybe it's because of Brad. It's probably Brad.
It helps, right?
It helps for women and men, I'm sure. But it was the costume department that sucked me in, and I joined World War Z. And then from then, I just found that I had a passion, and I found that I had a creative element of me that I never really knew I had. I knew that I could dress myself, but I didn't realize that I could use it in a way to tell stories and to tell a character. So from then, I just spoke to whoever I met, made sure I was super friendly, and then I joined so many other TV and film productions. So like The Voice, Strictly Come Dancing, and things like that, all under the name of costume. And then from then, I've just grown my business, and I've literally just dipping my toes in every kind of water I can to try and fulfill my purpose.
I love it. And it's such an interesting story. And there were some things that I really picked out of there, which I think are so important for us all to remember, is that rejection feels horrible, right? It's a really horrible feeling.
God. Yeah.
Yet an opportunity of having a conversation, I wrote this down, a conversation and one connection with one person leads you into a whole new world of what you could possibly do and all that opportunity. And it just
really
takes
does.
that one person to see something within you or to be the right person to connect with. And then suddenly the rejection almost disappears and you're in a whole new world of opportunity.
Yeah, it's so true. And that's the one thing that my parents are both PAYE. They've had the same jobs from the age of 18 to where they are now. They've never changed, never moved. So they've never really understood my freelance game. They've never understood that every single day I'm in a different place. I'm waking up at a totally different time, getting home at a totally different time. So I can never really got advice or had any peers to teach me the ways of this career path that I've chosen. But the one thing that they had taught me from a very, very young age, and that was to be polite and be a people person. I would be that young 6-year-old boy sat at a barbecue talking to all the older people, the aunties and uncles that I've never met before, because my mum told me to be polite and ask questions and listen. And I haven't forgotten that. And I've taken that up until where I am today. And part of that is the reason why I'm doing personal styling, is the fact that I feel empathy and I can listen and I've got patience with people. So that's where this side of the work I'm doing at the moment comes in.
I love that. I'm going to explore the kind of new direction for you in a minute. The other thing I found really interesting was around, you didn't set out to have this career. You wanted to kind of work in the area, and then you kind of found your passion for costume and styling as you went through. And I know a lot of people early on in their careers, or even actually later on in their careers, they're waiting for an epiphany of this is what I'm meant to do, or they think that they should know, and they want to know. But actually what you did is you did some stuff you enjoyed, and you explored it until you found that thing that really did it for you.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like when we have that, I think the company's connections, that it was when I was in school, and they come and you have a 5-minute conversation. And in that 5 minutes conversation, they tell you what career you should take. And I remember they said to me I should be a policeman, but I really shouldn't be a policeman because I hate confrontation. I would be the worst policeman.
You'd like the outfit though.
I'd love you know me well, Beth. You know me well. I'd love the outfit, but yeah, I could not be a policeman. So you're right. I decided to, live my life doing what I enjoy. And I continue to do that. And I continue to remind myself today that that is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And if I don't like something, I feel like people always say you should just persevere. If you don't like this job, or you don't like this person, or you don't like anything, you should just persevere and go through with it because it's rewarding in the end. I'm actually opposite. I think life is too short. I think if it's not working for you and you're not waking up every morning feeling happy, you need to change it. So I'm doing what makes me happy ultimately. And the finance and the money that comes through is going to be great and amazing. But don't focus on that. Focus on the happiness first and foremost.
Yeah. And obviously, this is why you're here, because what you're thinking in your career and what you do is so aligned with what I believe and what we're doing with WorkJoy and the principles of it is you are in charge of your working life, right? You have a choice here. And that's not to say that if you have a bad day, you should immediately resign and leave your job. It's about understanding things that do bring you some joy, knowing what they are, understanding that every job, no matter what it is, has bits of the work loop, bits of the bad stuff, because there's no such thing as perfect. Yet, what's the balance for you? And if that balance has tipped too far into the gloom, then maybe it's time for you to make some choices and do something different versus persevering in that real negative space.
Exactly. There's two sorts of challenges in the world, aren't there? There's the ones that literally just suck you down into a deep black hole, but then there's challenges that you want to actually confront. I see them as more like hurdles. Where if you're at the starting line, you see those hurdles, you're not going to run and stop. You want to leap over them. But if you're doing a job that makes you want to run and stop and you want to punch them and kick them and try and knock them down, then what's the point? You need to just stop and you need to become a 100-meter sprinter instead of a hurdler. It's literally, sometimes I just want to say to people, if I speak to friends and they're really not happy, I just want to shake them and just say, this isn't your life. Just because you've given them 4 years of your career already, it doesn't mean that you can't change now.
Yeah,
it's so
and
possible.
I think we get stuck, don't we, in that mindset that you can't change something that you've been doing for a while. And of course you can, and it might be different, and it might not be the same sort of money, or it might not be the same sort of prestige or things. But if it's what really brings you joy, I think those things matter slightly less when you have that in your life. And can we go down now and explore a little bit about this change in your career that you're working on now? So there will be many people, I'm sure, as I did when I first heard your story, who are going, oh, you get to work in all the glamour of TV and film. And actually, the reality of it is that there's a lot less glamour than it looks like when it's at the end, right? There's a lot of hard work involved there.
Absolutely.
But, you're working with Brad Pitt and all the celebs, and in what people might determine what I would call a really cool job, right? It's cool. But actually, your passions now and your purpose are not around the celebrity coolness. They're around a new mission in your life.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit more about your new business, what you're trying to do. And the thing I was really amazed about when you were talking to me about this before, and I'd love you to dig into this a bit more for our listeners, is that it's not just about the styling, that there's a bigger picture to it. So tell us more about this.
Absolutely. So I go by the name of Man About Style, and the purpose, in a nutshell, is that I want guys to start feeling their best self. As this gender that I appear to be, we don't like to talk. We don't like to talk about the struggles. If we've got insecurities, we keep them. Mental health is seriously real when it comes to us. And what I found when I first started personal styling was, at the time, it was, I love fashion. I like people. Let's get people dressed and looking really stylish. But then as I started getting more and more clients, I realized that people are coming to me for an underlying reason. They may not even know what that reason is, but what comes out in those 4 to 6 hours, if we're doing a styling session in Westfields, for example, it comes to the surface. So whether it's a guy that's got skin allergies, a guy that's going through a messy breakup, a divorce, has been single his entire life, is looking for love and keeps getting failed dates, there's always a reason as to why they've come to me. So I've taken hold. It's a selfish good deed, to be honest, because it makes me feel bloody amazing at the end of the day. So I'm basically running with what is truly going to make me happy as well in the long run. So I'm going to hold my hands up and just say that. But if guys are staying quiet and they feel like they can't talk to anyone, then you know what? I'm going to be that guy for them. And I like to think that I'm approachable and I'm a guy next door and I'm a good ear to listen to. So if my mission is to get the guys of the UK, and if we can push further than that, then fantastic. But I want them feeling their absolute best self, because clothing can do that for you.
It's so interesting, and there are so many points that I'm going to pick up on, and then we'll go down some of them. So the things that come to mind when you talk about this is that I think, from my experience, and I'll come at it from my end and what I've seen, there's a lot out there about women's styling and what you should wear, and amazing advice and guidance. It tends to be something that women do quite a lot of, and there's lots of people out there doing it. I am not sure I've seen that many men focusing on men's style, and it seems to be kind of not, it's not out there in the same way as in women's styling. It's like, do this, make yourself feel good. It's that self-care stuff that comes out a lot here.
Yeah.
And there's so much research, isn't there? And it really breaks my heart about how men who are struggling with their mental health often don't have an outlet or people, or don't feel they have an outlet or people or a way of talking about that. And yet here you are, through something that we may think in our heads is totally unrelated, being able to be that person for people.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the charities are obviously amazing for mental health, and thank God that we've got them. But it's either you talk to someone, or there's ones where you get together and you have a kickabout and you play five-a-side football with. But I still feel there's the stigma of owning up to having mental health issues. So I feel by using my services as this backdoor opportunity, you're almost not labeling yourself either. I'm putting out so much free content on my socials, as well as providing my services, that it's about them rather than making the issue feel much more daunting to someone. So as we get older, we learn to live in this hungry world. We have to fight for that place, or fight for that ticket, fight for that guy or that girl, or fight for that job role. But we need to remember that we're in the same body as we were. And, from the times when we learned to share and we were open to opportunity and we lived without fear. So it's a double-edged sword. We need life experience to grow, but at the same time, life experience imprisons us. So that's why we need to evolve through our life, through the chapters that we write. So we need to create a new skin and a new mindset. And a way to do that is through your style and through the clothes on your backs. But it's incredible that people don't know this. This psychology, or as I call it, style psyche, has been going on for years, that clothes are used to convey or hide emotions. That's what the costume department's for in movies. And that's why we get to fall in love or despise with a character, because of what they're wearing and how they're wearing it. And that even comes into the real world. US politicians, they've been doing it for absolute years. And it goes as far back as the cavemen, I'm sure. So it just baffles me that this isn't out there. How to Look Good Naked was amazing for all the women, and what a movement that was back in the early noughties. But there still hasn't been a slot filled for the men. And as you said, your first point, most male stylists hang around in Savile Row and they do sartorial wear, so they do suits. But a stylist for the everyday man using style psyche to help change their mindset is completely unheard of. And that is my purpose, to try and spread that message.
I love the idea of style psyche. I'm like, oh yeah, that does something for me. It's about how, and actually in season 1 we had Jodie Goldman, who is a personal impact specialist, and we talked more kind of like putting yourself forward. But part of her world is she spends a lot of time helping women in how you dress and how it makes you feel and how it makes you shine and be like your best self, as you're talking about here. So in the women's world, it is so part of how in corporate life, in working life, with a lot of women show up. It's like, let me get some help here because I need some help in this area, and now I feel better. When I feel better, I present myself better. And you're trying to do the same thing in the space of men and with men's mental health. And one of the things I'm really interested in, so talk to me a bit about more, so maybe some examples would be really helpful, is you talked about it as like it's a backdoor in to talk about your mental health. It's not a come talk about your mental health, oh, and we'll style you on the side type thing. It's really integrated, and it's a way of it's a really, I'm not sure if this is the right word, but I can't think of another one, so go with it. It's like a gentle way into having some conversations about yourself and who you are and how you want to present yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there's, when it comes to style psyche, come up with basically these little tips and tricks. That it goes as far as saying the power suit. If someone puts on a power suit, it makes you feel amazing, makes you feel incredible. So what I've done to try and combat mental health is come up with these little styling tactics that you can do that makes you feel a certain way or makes you portray a certain emotion. So, for instance, if you're feeling like you're lacking attention, then you might consider what people expect you to wear. You haven't changed your look in years. You dress by the book with zero fresh creativity. So then why not consider creating a positive shock value? So by that, I mean surprising others with your style and your outfits. This could be wearing a new fashion brand, wearing a new color, wearing a new item that no one's seen you in before, but it works with who you are. By creating a positively shock value can bring you the attention that you need to then pursue what you want to in life. And it's tiny little things like that that I've come up with to try and combat mental health.
And it's so interesting, isn't it? I love the way you talk there about, we haven't changed the kind of outfits you wear. I do feel all of us, well, I definitely feel it for myself, who identifies as a woman. And I kind of definitely see it in the people around me, is we do kind of get a bit stuck in our ways. We have we even if we don't have a uniform for work, we create ourselves a work uniform. And that tends to be the thing that every day you wear. And that might be something that pushes you back into the background, like I'm hiding away because I don't want to get noticed, or I do want to get noticed and I haven't really realised that I'm not standing out in any way. Or it could be I've always worn this type of, trousers because I think they suit me, but actually something else or a different colour in it might just totally perk me up or perk up how other people see me.
But how bonkers is that we spend 365 days a year every morning putting on clothes, because unfortunately it's legal, we have to. What a shame. But we have to put these clothes on our backs, and people do not consider changing it up. I find that confusing. We change what we eat every day. Why don't we change up the way we dress? And I think it's something so simple that people can do. And it's like having guys come to me who are trying to get a new job. I had a guy message me this morning, actually, who's he's only 23. He's leaving the army and he's going to get a job in sales. And he wants to start wearing suits and looking sharper. And he's had to wear one uniform from the age of 18 to 23. And he now doesn't know, how do I dress? And I find that just incredible. And that's like the ideal client for me, because he's like grassroots level. He's from scratch. So I can really peel back the layers of who are you underneath this uniform. But everyone should mix it up. Everyone should change. And it doesn't mean becoming Mr. Fashion and, draping yourself in the freshest Alexandra McQueen and Yeezy trainers. It's about finding what's going to make you feel your best self.
It's so interesting. So I'm thinking about that, the guy that you're talking about there coming out of the army. It's like he's going to start this so young that it will help him, I imagine, throughout the rest of his career, because he has that advice so early on. And when you were saying that, the other thing I was thinking about is, maybe if you go 20 years on from that, when maybe people have got stuck in a bit of a rut around it. And, as you approach middle age, your body shape changes over time. I'm here rocking grey hair rather than having my hair dyed for the first time ever in my life, having started going grey when I was in my 20s. Things change.
But you
over
feel
time.
so comfortable, right? Just being able to just let your hair be grey and not have to worry about.
I mean, when you think about what's been good about COVID, 18 months of no one expecting me to dye my hair has led to a whole new world. And actually, a lot of women I'm talking to now feel a lot freer to be in the zone of grey hair. 100%. And I quite like it. It's quite freeing. It's quite like I am me. It's actually the real me. And what I've often felt for a long time, and I say this to my husband quite a lot of the time, is he's going a bit grey and he looks super, super hot in it.
Nice.
But there has been for many years a perception that when women go grey, it's not a good look. But now I think there's a whole new revolution. But I do think there is something. So there's people who, when people go through changes in life, whether that's things, as you said, people getting divorced or wanting something different or a new job or physical changes, we might need some new clothes to help support us through that.
Yeah, definitely we do. And it is literally something so simple. So I feel if there's a guy that meets me and we're meeting in Starbucks in the middle of Westfields and he's walking towards me, I'm not just seeing what he's wearing. I'm actually looking at his posture. I'm looking at the way he's walking. What is he looking at? And 9 times out of 10, these guys are walking hunched over, looking at the floor, slightly nervous. They might have their phones out. They've got their face buried in their phones. So that's just telling me what kind of security level that they're at. So straight away, what I'll do is start from the feet up because touching the ground is what makes us feel comfortable. So I'll find a pair of shoes that I call sole support, a pair of shoes that has got a thick, healthy sole. And it's not like a loafer where it's skinny and it's flat to the floor and it's making you walk very flat footed. I want something that's going to give you strength, something solid, even something with a bit of a heel in it. And you can even get trainers with bits of heels in it because I want that person feeling an extra couple of inches taller because what that'll do is lift up his chest, roll back his shoulders, and all of a sudden, within that first half an hour of meeting, he's already feeling slightly more confident to then work on the harder bits, is the things that are actually touching his skin. So that's a little bit into how I begin this journey, shall I say.
I love that, and I haven't quite worked out which way to write soul. Am I doing the shoe sole, or am I doing like the inner sole? So I've written it both ways on my notes. Is this the idea that, because I'm imagining it's actually both things. It's like support for your actual soles, for your actual feet, and the support for your soul that is the thing within you and that can light you up and make you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, that's it. Well, as a dyslexic person, to me, they're both spelled the same way.
Yeah.
But
I love the metaphor of it being both of those things. For me, I'm
exactly,
like, yes, I love that. And then, so this idea that what you said there is like that, the things that touch your skin, the things that are. I'm having a really like deep moment here about thinking about how the things that we wear, they do almost become part of us, don't they? They become part of how we feel and how we look. And I did a total confession, everyone, when Nick joined today, that today I am currently wearing the skankiest tracksuit. I really am. I'm wearing a pair of joggers and I have a t-shirt and a jumper on top because I wanted to be super comfy. And then I was like, I'm talking to Nick, who's a stylist. I should be trying to find my utmost coolest outfit.
That's so funny, Beth, because you know what I did? I actually got changed half an hour before this podcast. So I'm actually wearing a pair of black tailored trousers with a center crease, a linen pinstripe shirt, open with a vest, and I actually blow dried my hair. So
we've done the opposite.
We're so opposite, but they've both got the same purpose, haven't they? They're both wanting us to actually perform and do this podcast feeling our best self.
Yeah. And like today I woke up and I really wanted to be comfy. That was my thing today, was I just want to be comfy. I didn't have many meetings. Obviously, we do this in audio, and now I'm explaining exactly what I'm wearing. I'm like, I probably should have not done this either. Total confession. But actually, I want to be comfy, and you wanted to be feeling good about yourself. And it's like, find the way that makes that happen.
Exactly. There's no perfect outfit and there's no perfect style. And I always remind clients of that. And that's why I'm not a fashion stylist. And I don't call myself a fashion stylist, because fashion to me has a stigma about being current and being on trend. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm a stylist, full stop. So what we wear will not please everyone. It's like walking art. Some are going to love it. Some are going to ask who it's by. Where did we get it from? But some are also not going to get it. And some may even make snide remarks. But the biggest importance of how the owner feels is how good do they feel? How it's the wearer of this creation. That is the only important thing in this.
I love that. And actually, isn't that a really interesting thing? And I don't know about you, but I imagine a lot of this starts in like kind of the teenage world where people are, you get judged for what you wear quite a lot when you're younger. And if you're not cool enough or not wearing the right brands or, the colors that other people like and all of that stuff, it probably does affect us through our lives, those kind of things. But for me, when you said that, I really loved it, it's about the wearer. Is what you're wearing making you feel good? And if it is, doesn't really matter to what anyone else thinks.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. And like I said before, it's yes, I know about trends. I'm very pop cultured and it's what I love doing and it's what I'm a part of. But if you come to me and you expect to walk out of Westfields feeling like Kanye West, that's not going to happen because that's not what I'm trying to achieve here. And they may feel good in that moment, but a week later, when their bank account is in the red, and that hype has changed to another fashion, they're then going to email me and say, Nick, what a terrible service that was. So I have to forget that and really dig deep into who they deserve to feel like.
That's a really interesting word as well there, who you deserve to feel like. And I know I am not an expert in men's mental health and I am not a man. So I will say this with all of those caveats in mind is I imagine there's a lot of people out there who wouldn't necessarily feel like they deserve to feel like that. That's not something that they could have. But it sounds to me like you're saying, and tell me if I'm wrong here, that actually, even if you only have a small budget for clothes, it's not about going and buying all the designer stuff. It's just about finding the right things from, there's so much options out there, isn't there? But it's about finding the right things for you. Is that right?
That's totally right. I've had a client who brought one shirt. He spent a full day with me and he brought one shirt, but what he did was walk around with a little black book and he wrote down everything I was saying like a journalist. It was fantastic. I mean, his fingers were bleeding by the end of it, but he was more interested in not what we were buying, but listening to what I'm saying. And he had a tight budget, hence why he didn't even buy anything. But then I've had another client who spent £8,000 in one day with me.
Wow.
So I know, right? Oh, to have £8,000 to throw up the wall in a couple of hours. But it doesn't matter. You get people of all different budgets. And that goes into my media work as well, doing TV and film. I'll get Sky or Netflix or the BBC, or I'll get some low-key short film that has got a couple of pennies to throw at me to try and create some magic. So I've learned from the best to know how to work with budgets. So I feel like I don't know many men's stylists out there, but I'm sure that there's some that just stick to their key brands and they'll go to the high-end stores because they think that's going to make them feel better. But I guarantee you, if you gave me £100, I could walk into H&M and I could dig out 3 really good outfits just from Henny's that would make them feel just as good as if they walked into Tom Ford.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to know that because sometimes these things feel out of reach for people because they feel like a really expensive thing, or like I have to change my entire wardrobe. And I love the idea that someone just bought one shirt and that can change how you feel about yourself. And can you tell us, because I love how this is so important, this stuff, but I also love how you think about mental health as part of it. Have you got any, obviously without sharing too many details because it's all confidential, but have you got any stories you could share with us about actually how people's mental health or feelings have improved as a result of really focusing on this area?
Yeah, definitely. I had this one guy before Christmas who had been single for about 3 years, but it wasn't just living a single life of this is great, I'm going out with the boys and we're drinking and we're meeting new people all the time. It was 3 years of a steady decline to the point I did a wardrobe review, went to his place and it was a mess. He just lost all control of not just his fashion and his styling, but about how he runs his life and his whole organization and preparation of life. So it almost became, I was in his wardrobe depicting who he is at the moment so we can figure out clothing clarity for the future. But it turned into a much broader perspective. And I came up with, he basically doesn't like going out. He likes to stay in. He likes to play games. So it was finding a wardrobe that when he joins the dating scene, which was his end goal in all of this, it was how can I dress myself to not look like I'm overdressed just to stay indoors? because you can't change a guy. You can't say, no, you're going to like going to fancy bars and going to dates there. No, like a walk around a park and grabbing a coffee is probably, if not better, than going to a bar if you're dating someone. So I was finding outfits which were literally as low key as possible, but it was fabrics that were going to make him feel comfortable, things that weren't tight on the body and restricting, comfortable, soft feelings that is literally going to make him embrace someone and someone that he's meeting. And not only that, he was really insecure and he didn't understand style, but this is where you can use a label. So I got him a nice pair of trainers that had a badge on the trainers, and that was his one piece that he felt like he needed just to say, look, I do have something about me. So I'm not always against logos and designers, but if a logo is going to be your wingman, then I would 100% use one. And he definitely needed a wingman when he starts dating.
Yeah. It's so interesting, isn't it? That whole, it's more than just that one thing. It's finding clothes that will not just make you feel good, but fit into the life that what you want to have. So if you're not going out to bars all the time, then don't buy outfits that are going to suit that. Buy them for suiting what you want to do, but maybe I always think about like buy the best version of that you can versus the everyday version. Maybe it's slightly nicer than what you had before or slightly more. It's a really, really interesting one. And that whole thing about there is spirals, isn't there, that we get into. So really interested in this guy. He's like there, and you kind of, the slow decline is some kind of catalyst to change that decline and to start going, actually, let me care about myself. And if I care about myself, I can then care about my environment and I can care about my world. And if I care about my environment and my world, when I go out there and meet people, they will understand that I'm worthy of caring about because I care about myself too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like most issues with people. If there's an issue, we like to, brush it under the carpet, under the rug and forget about it. And that's just more so with men, as I've discovered, is that if there is an issue, it is not confronted or faced. It just continues to get worse and worse and worse and decline. And that's the position that he put himself into.
And that gets harder and harder to get out of without some kind of intervention, like on your own. And I love the way that could be you. That could be you as a person. And the method for helping someone out of that situation might be through clothing, but it's actually the process of getting out of that situation that's the important bit, not the clothes.
Exactly. I'll let you into a little secret now, Beth, is that I'm a great talker. Put me in front of you, me and you can talk for hours, I'm sure, like we're doing now. But the build up to talking on Zoom or Clubhouse is awful with me. Like, honestly, the nerves is ridiculous. Put a camera in front of me and I can talk to it. But I really get myself into a state of panic and worry just through talking over the phone, which is so peculiar. So that's why I changed my clothing to totally make me feel like, right, I'm ready for business. I'm ready for action. Yeah. So when I talk about mental health and improving other people's health, I'm not talking from the side of I know it all and I'm a master and health. I am the number one at health. I can crush it. But I'm talking from, I deal with mental health myself. So I'm on your wavelength. I'm right there with you. And I'm using my own tactics for my own gain as well here.
Yeah. So you're with them. You're not advising them. You're with them through the process. And you're not being the expert. You're being the guide, I suppose, to their own journey. I'm going to use the word journey, which is
journey.
I love the idea that for you, and I totally relate to this. And I spent a lot of my childhood doing a lot of dramery things on telly and on the stage. Is that you're putting your costume on?
Yeah.
Right. So you getting dressed before you do this, putting your costume on to be confident and to be ready to play your part and talk about this stuff. So I totally get it. And exactly. I find myself doing similar things. I do a lot of, pre-COVID, did a lot of speaking on big stages with lots of people. And one of the things people always used to laugh at me about is like, I'm getting there early and I just walk on the stage. So I walk the whole stage. I understand like where things are. I look at where the audience is, where I'm going to do that. it's that rehearsal bit, isn't it? It's the
Exactly.
I feel comfortable in my environment. I feel comfortable in my body. I feel comfortable in the clothes that I'm wearing now. And now I am ready to do this big thing that I need to do that actually is a bit scary, but I'm excited about it as well.
Yeah, I always say if I get guys that ask me questions on Instagram or whatever, and they've got a big day coming, whether it's a wedding or a meeting or they're pitching a business, I always say to them, preparation is presentation. And I always say, pick your outfit the night before, what you're wearing, try it on, do the do in the outfit, whether it's reading the pitch out or just standing there looking at yourself in the mirror, and then lay it out ready. So when you wake up in the morning, you look at that outfit, it's not scary to you. You've already worn it and you're basically just jumping into your own skin.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Love it. As you said just then, I think we could talk for hours.
I think we
However,
could.
I'm not sure that everyone would want to listen to us for hours. I mean, we're pretty
true.
good, but I think, are you okay if I ask you some quick fire questions?
I would love you to.
Okay. So in your world, in your life, for you personally, what is always guaranteed to bring you some work joy?
Money. I'm joking. What a charlatan I would be.
I love that. I was like, oh, really?
Sorry, I crushed that quick fire.
Good joke.
No, what is guaranteed to bring me work joy is the people I'm surrounded by. Simple as that. The people I'm surrounded by. There's no joy coming from anything if you're working in a hostile environment. Even if you work self-employed on your own, you're still connecting with people. It's drop those people. There's no point having 50 connections when 40 of them are awful and they bring you down and they suck the life out of you. So surround yourself with positive people that are only got your best interests at heart.
Yeah. That kind of genuinely care about you and your work and your future and all of those things. I love it. I was going to say earlier, actually, I totally forgot to say it. So I'll say it now before we go on to the next question, is one of the things I really noticed about what you were saying is how from a very early age you were almost trained to do this job just by the values that your parents instilled in you about having conversations with the grown-ups around you.
Yeah, I know, right? And back then I was actually annoyed. I was like, oh my God, I just want to go and play in the mud or roll around in the grass. God, I've got to stand here and talk to the oldies. But now I'm like thankful for that.
I think I can totally relate. And I was very similar in my childhood, that my mum and dad are very sociable. I had lots of friends around all the time. Our house was kind of a gathering place. And I was always like, go and talk to everybody, have a conversation, be polite. And I do think, oh, actually, that has been quite a good lesson. And we always think it's the education system, like going to university and things, that teach us the best things. But I'm not convinced it actually teaches us the life skills we need. They happen earlier on.
No,
we could do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah, exactly. That's a part two.
The lessons from our parents. The next question is, what book are you currently reading?
I don't read, Beth. And here we go. The only book I've ever read in my life is The Hungry Caterpillar. And what a great book that is.
That's a great book.
I honestly don't read. I listen to podcasts and I am a huge social media mogul, to the point that I follow so many business entrepreneurs and life coaches and people like that every day I pick up my phone, I'm not actually scrolling at rubbish that I don't need and that's gonna make me feel crap. I'm actually scrolling, and the majority of my feed and my algorithm is people telling me what a great day I'm about to have. So I'm sorry, I'm not reading anything, but I'm just a big listener and a big viewer of people's social platforms.
I love it. And obviously you'd be saying that you'd recommend the WorkJoy Jam podcast, but tell us what your second or third inline podcasts that you love listening to are, so that we can recommend them.
Well, after yours, it would be Gary V's. I'm a big Gary V fan, Gary Vaynerchuk. Obviously check him out if you don't know who he is, but he speaks about business and about life skills on a level that doesn't make you feel like you're at school. He talks to you. He talks like you're a real person, and he swears a lot. He swears actually a really lot, um, but it just feels more real, and his energy is just second to none. So Gary Vaynerchuk is one of them, and the Diary of a CEO is another one. So check that out,
Oh,
because
brilliant.
that guy Stephen is the new dragon on Dragon's Den. And he's making
Ah,
big moves for black people. So yeah, so he's
brilliant.
fantastic as well.
Love it. Thank you. Next one is, what's the best or most useful bit of advice that you've had at some point in your life that you always find yourself coming back to?
Do you know what? It's probably to be vulnerable. There was a point in my life where I always thought being vulnerable is a bad thing. It shows weakness and it shows that you're soft. But the best bit of advice was about vulnerability. And you know what? I cannot remember who it came from, but I just remember it because I'm very sensitive and I'm quite a gentle person in terms of personality. So I remember someone saying this to me. It might have even been a designer I worked for. And I was thinking, wow, okay. So vulnerability is not about winning or losing. It's about having that courage to show up when you can't control an outcome. Um, so that's a key thing that I always remind myself, is that it's okay to be vulnerable. And it's just like me sharing with you now, saying how nervous I was leading up to this. A lot of people would probably have a bravado maybe and be like, "Oh, I do podcasts all the time. I'm a pro." But actually, I'm okay to share my vulnerability, because I'm comfortable with it, and I'm just it's
Yeah.
only a good thing in my eyes.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I'm a massive fan of Brené Brown, who does loads of research in the world of
Oh my
vulnerability.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean,
I love
obviously, I
her.
don't read, so her Netflix.
Her Netflix, her Netflix,
Cool.
her YouTube. She's got it all on
Yeah.
the Audible. If you want to listen to stuff, I think
Oh,
her
amazing.
research there really helped me with the world of vulnerability and how important it is to kind of show the realness of yourself and be okay with that.
Yeah. And
And
when I
yeah,
called that on
amazing.
Netflix, I was just blown away. I was like, oh my God, there's actually there's a talk about this. And I didn't even know who she was up until probably the back end of last year. And now, like, yeah, I just follow her
Yeah,
hugely as well.
I called her Queen Brené because I want to like worship her.
Oh
I love it.
God.
And not that we know each other. I don't call her Queen Brené to her face. It's not like I know her, but
Yeah.
I do think she's one of those um, celebrities, I suppose she is now, who I would be utterly, it would be the first time I've ever been silent in my life, I think, if I actually got to meet Brené.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I love that.
right. What I'd love to do now is, what is one super practical bit of advice that you could give our listeners that they could go away, think about, do something really practical, really small today, the next day, that you think might help them get a bit more work joy?
Okay. This is super easy. Learn to say no. It's literally super. Shall I dive into that more?
Dive, yeah. I love
So
it, and I want to know more.
yeah. So to say yes doesn't mean that you're a real go-getter by taking every opportunity that presents itself. The ability to actually say no allows you to put yourself at the top of the pecking order. And what that does is then brings focus to only doing the things that's going to give you meaning and give you purpose. And what does having meaning and purpose in life mean? It means that you get ultimate work and life joy. And it's as simple as that. I'm saying no to so much stuff that it's like you said, this is a full circle now. Like you said at the beginning, amazing jobs, amazing actors, and it is great for dinner conversation. And I can say yes to that. But by me saying yes means I can't fulfill my purpose of helping the guys out there that actually need the help with styling. So I have to learn to say no to these amazing opportunities that is going to be great for someone else, but just not for me and my time right now.
Yeah, and that's hard, right? It must be hard saying no to that stuff right
Oh,
now.
it's so hard. I got a text. I did a bit of Bridgerton before in the
Oh,
year, and
did you?
they've been filming for so long because of COVID, and they keep asking me. And I actually got a text yesterday morning, saying, "Nick, these are the dates. It's really busy. Will you come and help us out?" And I was like, "Look, I'm so sorry, I can't." Which again, it's great for me to tell you here and now, but working that 16-hour day is not going to tell those guys how to make their lives better off.
Yeah. So you're making the decision to work and make choices about your time to be aligned to your purpose, not
Exactly.
aligned to the kind of shiny thing over there. It's the real
Exactly.
stuff, the deeper stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. I love that bit of advice. And it's something that I always ask people when I'm coaching them is like, where are you on your to-do list? And it's always either not on there or at the bottom. It's like, let's it up a few notches, shall we?
Yeah.
And see what that could do.
Yeah.
Right, Nick. Tell us, where can people find out more about you and Man About Style and get involved with you and your work?
Absolutely. So manaboutstyle.co.uk is the website. There's free ebooks on there. There's all of my services, all the costs and the price. If you think, oh, he's not going to be affordable, you'll be surprised. There's literally 7 different services there that cater for every different level of comfort and every level of budget. So check me out there because I'd love to help you out if you're listening. And social media, I'm on every social media platform going, but stick with Instagram because it's the easiest. That's manaboutstyle.nick.
Style.nick. Brilliant. And we'll put all of those into the comments on the show notes as this goes out. Nick,
Amazing.
It's been so fantastic talking to you. Thank you for sharing. And I love that we come at WorkJoy from a really different angle here, to be more about kind of what goes on with men, to be more about mental health, to be thinking about how this avenue and thinking about this can really help people to be and put themselves out there in the way that they want to be seen, in the way that they are them, in a way that kind of makes them more joyful. I'm really loving it. So thank you very much for being on the WorkJoy Jam.
Well, thank you very much, Beth, for giving me this platform to share my story. I absolutely appreciate it, and you're doing amazing things. So thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you all for listening to the WorkJoy Jam and this episode with Nick Howard-Lanes, or Man About Style. I really enjoyed listening to Nick and hearing about his career, and really loved how he has taken his work and everything that he's learned through his career in costuming to consider how do we help people with their mental health through having style and thinking about clothing and how that represents who we are and how we can use it to help us feel better and to be our best selves. I really loved Nick's early career story about, all the rejection, and I think many of us have felt that sting of rejection in our lives. And then about how opportunity is sometimes just created in that one connection, that one conversation that you have with people, and how much of that is based on so many different factors. And obviously he talked there about, being polite and kind and listening and being able to have a conversation, and how important that is for his work. I also think it's really interesting to think about how what we wear is a representation of who we are, and how putting your costume on for whatever it is you're doing at work can be really helpful, but it also can be something where we get stuck in a rut, or we continue to wear the same thing even if we've maybe outgrown it, or it's not matching what we're trying to present to the world, and how really considering that can be helpful to us and can lead us into a new direction, which really opens some doors, opens us up for different ways of thinking and being and feeling. I also love one of the things he said. It was a little small comment, but I really loved it about that his work now is a selfish good deed because it makes him feel good. And I would just call that work joy. He's found the place where he can be, where he gets the work joy out of what he's doing, and he's helping other people, so really living within his purpose. And style psyche was one of those phrases that I was like, oh, I quite like that. I'm going to keep that. And the positive shock value. And then the thing that I don't know is because in one of my first ever jobs, I actually worked in shoe shops. And when he was talking about that, the soul stuff, like getting your soles right, giving yourself soul support, whether that's the sole of your shoe or the sole in your body, starting there and seeing where you can go from. Really, really loved Nick and everything he has to say. Great advice, thinking about vulnerability and learning to say no. You will have heard that on different episodes of the WorkJoy Jam, but how good a reminder is that actually you are important, and manage your time as such and say no to the things that don't really link into where you want to be spending your time, your energy and your effort. So thank you all for listening to the WorkJoy Jam. We'd love you to get involved on our socials at Create WorkJoy, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and on LinkedIn. Please do share, comment and like. It really helps to spread the word. You can also join Club WorkJoy, which is a fantastic, thriving community of people who are aiming to get and cultivate and create more work joy in their lives. We have amazing speakers, we have networking, we have online collaboration, connection with people from all walks of life. So we would love you to come and join that. Do head to our website, www.createworkjoy.com, to find out more and to sign up. Thanks for listening to the WorkJoy Jam. Please go listen to our other episodes. It would be great to get advice from all the different people that I interview. Thank you.